It says enter a first name and last name. And this site is called Spokio, and what it is an aggregator. Let's just make up a name. James Smith. I'm just going to hit search. And this aggregator is all it does is it pulls information from all of these publicly available sources on the internet. Hey guys, this is Bruce. It's been a while since I did a security type video, but what I'm about to tell you is basically don't use your real first name, last name on the internet. I just seen this trend of people using their first name and their last name on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all the others. And I'm going to demonstrate why you shouldn't. And all this conversation really comes as a result of me and my wife over the last few years have built up this following. Like we have probably across all of our social media platforms, 50,000, maybe less than that, 40,000 people who follow us, something to that effect. And people watch us because they're interested in what we have to say. And, 90% of those people are just passersby. They just happen to see something that we did, it helped them out, or they thought it was entertaining, or they whatever, right? They have their own reasons. And then there's a small core of those people who we've gotten close to, they're close to us, and we just have this link with them. Then there's a smaller minority of people in this whole group that, for lack of a better word, are crazy. And probably it's like 1%. Maybe even less than 1%. And this conversation comes from that 1% or even less than maybe 0.8%. I don't know what it is, but it's very small, but it does crop up from time to time. People call them trolls, but I think that it goes even beyond trolls. It's like people who are not in their right frame of mind. All of us process information differently. And I'm not trying to single anyone out, but I'm just saying that if you put anything out there on social media at all, this 1% of people are dangerous. And, even outside of the 1% of people who are dangerous, there's also people who want to exploit you. And I would probably put them in the same box. There's people who try to exploit you for your information, try to use your personality, your name, your face, your authenticity for their own advantage, to run scams. And we've actually met those kinds of people and or corporations or organizations, and we've met just people who are just out of their minds. And so this goes out to not just content creators like ourselves, but also to individuals who you just post comments out there, but your real name is there associated with the comment you put out. And your kids, like, you really need to monitor, like, your kids not putting their full name out there as well. Your family members who are on social media that is so popular these days. I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate to you why that is. And I've already talked about this before. And honestly, I just want to reiterate this because it's just that important. And I'm just going to make up a name here. It says enter a first name and last name. And this site is called Spokio, and what it is an aggregator. It basically, they don't keep information. It essentially pulls information that's publicly available from all over the internet. And let's just make up a name. I don't know, James. Yeah, I'm just making this up. Smith. I don't actually know any James Smiths. I'm sure I have in the past, but currently don't know any. I'm just going to hit search. And this aggregator is all it does is it pulls information from all of these publicly available sources on the internet, and it's going to display them for us. And by the end of this exercise, you should ask yourself, why the hell is so much publicly available information out there? And that's a very good question, So here we go with James Smith, and I apologize in advance if your name is James Smith. This is just something I just came up with at the top of my head, but it has pulled 4,000 plus results in Alabama, all the way to all the way to every state, Florida, right? And we can keep going. We can go to, I'm sure there's some in Texas as well, all the way down to every state, right? It's a pretty common name. Wyoming. Let's go to Wyoming. There's 301 hits in Wyoming. And you got Billings, you got Casper. Here's a well-known location. Cheyenne's probably like the biggest city in Wyoming that I know of. So let's go ahead and click that one. And there's a few here in well, let's just keep going here. It's basically refining the search. Wyoming, Cheyenne, and then it has different first name, middle name, last name, and the approximate age of the person. Now keep in mind, this isn't what this Spokio is doing. It's aggregating, meaning it's pulling data from all over the internet and putting them in one place. And it says their relatives are Christy Smith, Crystal Smith, Nikki Smith, John Smith, right? And you could actually put these relatives' names in there and find out more information about them. So this, you not using this information, your personal real name, which is already on the internet somewhere. Now, if you're really brave, what you'll do is you put your own personal name in this aggregator and see what it finds, and then go to your state, and that should shock you. So it has all their relatives here. Let's just focus in on James Russell Smith here, age 45, and let's just see results here. And as you can see, it's got email. It's got business contact information. I think you have to pay a little bit more to unlock the profile, and it'll actually grab that information on there. And this is all publicly available resources, which is terrifying. And if you ever wonder like how in the world these advertising agencies are getting your phone number or sending you all this mail, this is part of one of the methods that they use. So alias, it has aliases of this person's name, James and Smith. And is it accurate? No, but the thing is, there's other aggregators that they can use to pinpoint exactly who you are. So this is not the only one. And if you just use each one of these, there's hundreds of these things. There's hundreds of them, and they all do the same thing. All you need is first name and last name and the state, and you can find out. You can even get phone numbers in some cases, and it's because the data is all publicly available, and these are all other data brokers where they gives you addresses, phone numbers, and it'll give you additional information like archived information, archive.com. Great site, by the way. Great site. Background checks, bankruptcies, if you've ever had any of those. My point is, any information that you have ever put into a county database, the county, your local county, makes all your information locally, publicly available. And they do that for like real estate purposes, or selling your house, or what property that's on public land that's owned by this person or whatever. And all that stuff is in the county database. You can find right now, go to your local county website, and you can probably find your name associated with your current street address, and then other information about you. It's all publicly available, and it's all from official government sources, so it's pretty accurate. What I'm getting at is not to really talk about like the philosophy behind whether or not this should be. It is, right? It's there. But what you can do is at the very least, don't put your real name, your real first name and last name associated with your state and all this other information you're putting out there on the internet for your own personal protection. Because what we found after building all this content, putting all this content out there, is that there's some really sick people out there, and people who would attack the kids, people who would threaten lives. It's just, I really don't know how celebrities deal with it, but as a private, relatively private person who does like to share information, it's just, even if you're not a private person, like, there's just some real sick people out there that will show up at your door. YouTubers have this happen to them often, where somebody will show up at their doorstep saying, "Hey, I'm a fan," and then that's like not cool to do to people. Other things you can do aside from not using your real name and not using your real first and last name is don't ever share your phone number unless it's somebody you know personally and that you can trust, because you can actually get more information from phone number as well. Another thing is Facebook. There's a couple kind of predatory. They're a little bit too aggressive socially, and that's Facebook and Instagram are a little bit too aggressive. And when it's asking for your contact information, and all of them really do this, but Facebook takes it to another level where anybody you've ever called is being pulled into your sphere of influence, I guess. I don't know. They try to contact people that you know based off of your contacts list, and then their algorithm knows that you're associated with those people, and in some cases you don't want to be associated with those people anymore, and you just happen to have to call them or whatever, but now it's automatically grabbing them and saying, "Hey, these people are part of your sphere of influence, you should be their friends." Anyway, Facebook, I don't recommend using your real name and last name with Facebook unless it's a private profile. If you're a public person, you should make a separate profile with a fake name or a pseudonym, right? And use that one to put out your content, and use a separate one for very close-knit people. I don't recommend putting your Facebook real name on Facebook at all. Like, not at all, because it's just too aggressive. It's too aggressive in how it tries to share your information with other people that you may not want your information shared with. Former people who may have abused you, people. It doesn't take into account the actual relationship that occurred. It doesn't take into account that this is your ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or somebody who hurt you in some way in your past that you don't want any kind of connections with. It doesn't take that into account. It just grabs them and then it shares your information with them and says, "Hey, do you know this person?" So Facebook, be very careful with. If you don't need it, just delete the damn thing. I use it for communicating with old family, my family members and old friends. And on that count, I don't even have my real name, and that one's private. And then if I'm putting out content on the site, it has a pseudonym, and I share out information with people who are close to me as far as the content's concerned. Like, we're like-minded people who want to share information on cryptography or computer science or cryptocurrency or whatever, right? So you can kind of put all those things into different buckets of how you're talking to those people, but the thing is, don't use your real name.